Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, you are all being recorded. And as I said before, we'll let Carl do his couple of slides, and then if you do have a question, if you can just click the little hand button down at the bottom of your screens, and then I will call on you in the order that that people click their hands. So with that,
I'm doing a full screen sharing, so I can't see the reactions or the hand raises.
okay, I'll manage that.
Okay, you'll manage that. So yeah. Is it better to go full screen then? Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
That'll work. Let's get started. So thank you again. Russell introduced himself while I was getting up and started. So yeah, does this picture bother anybody but me?
Why does it bother you?
The Tesla T is not perfectly straight.
Okay, so I wasn't going to admit to that. It did bother me, but
trust me, if I had another 10 minutes, I would have photoshopped it in there.
Oh my God, there must be engineers in the room.
Yeah, like I said, I'm currently a brand manager, but my background, I'm a mechanical engineer and did tire design for almost 8 years. So yeah. Anyway. Russell and I will tag team the next couple of slides. I'll take this first one, but anyway, we'd like to throw some things out there. This may be information you already know, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If it leads to more questions, great. If not, we'll move on to the next slide. But you know, what makes electric vehicles different than gas vehicles? Well, a couple of things. We got 3 things we're going to point out here. The first one at the top, you know, is they have a lot more instant torque, and they're heavier. They tend to be 20% heavier, which means that you can potentially consume the tires 20% faster than an equivalent ICE vehicle. Is that a surprise to anyone? Anyone have any experience with that?
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Oops, sorry. And because there is not a gas engine in the front of the car, they're quieter. So road noise tends to be amplified, wind noise, other things. So it's important that the tires are designed, and there's some things we'll talk about that we put in the tires to make them quieter, to give you that nice premium ride that you paid for. And lastly, rolling resistance has a big impact, as well as aerodynamics, again, because those things are going, the more you can reduce either one of those or both, the longer your range will be. Does everybody know what rolling resistance of the tire, when we say rolling resistance of the tire, what that actually means? Do I need to talk about that a little more?
Why don't you just explain it?
Russell, I'm gonna let you jump in here with if you don't mind.
Yeah, so there's a few ways to look at it. The simplest way is when you roll a tire, it stops eventually. And the reason it stops is rolling resistance. Now, it's a little bit more complicated. You put the tire on the vehicle, you put air in it, and you load it. And what happens is every time that tire rolls, the tread blocks, they move, they flex, and the sidewall flexes. And when they do that, you lose a little bit of heat, a little bit of energy. And that energy loss eventually causes the either the vehicle to stop, or you have to put more energy in it. So rolling resistance, quite simply put, is the resistance of the tire to rolling. There are 2 key things that determine the rolling resistance of. One is the tire itself, the tire construction, the materials, and the second is the amount of air. And the more air you put in the tire, the stiffer it is, the less it deforms, and typically that lowers the rolling resistance. Lower rolling resistance means you go further. So low rolling resistance is good.
Equals range, more range. Think of it that way.
Equals range, right?
Okay. Thank you, Russell. We'll jump over to the second slide here. You
want me to do that?
Yeah, go for it, Russell, because it kind of leads in from the rolling resistance that you were talking about. I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so here we'll talk about rolling resistance. I told you I've been designing tires for years, and I have seen, particularly in Michelin, even before electric vehicles, an incredible amount of progress in rolling resistance. Rolling resistance in internal combustion engines can impact the miles per gallon. Because electric vehicles are much more efficient, on an internal combustion engine, about 75% of the energy that's generated by that engine combustion, I humorously call it a contained explosion, is lost because there's so many moving parts and heat that's lost and that sort of thing. The other side of that, about most of the energy that comes from the battery gets transferred to the wheels. Okay. And so because the drivetrain and the motors of electric vehicles are more efficient, the impact of tires becomes more. And so it's more important than ever to optimize rolling resistance of tires. And that's something that Michelin's been doing for quite a few years. It's been about 20 years, 20, 30 years. We introduced GreenX technology. Really, we're shooting for a lower rolling resistance, miles per gallon, better miles per gallon in internal combustion engines. But when electric vehicles came along and it mattered more, we were pretty happy about it, because now more than ever that matters. Let's talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add in there. So Michelin was, we were cool. We were green before green was cool.
Yeah, we actually call the tires GreenX, right?
Yeah.
So the next part of that, let's talk about durability. So tires wear faster on electric vehicles. Why? Because simply put, you put more, the vehicles are heavier and they put more stresses and loads on the tire. Those stresses and loads on the tire, they make the tire wear faster. It's the stresses and loads and the small rubbing and friction between the tire and the road that makes it wear more. And you've got a heavier tire, so you have to brake a little bit harder, and all that makes the tire wear more. The good news is that's one of the things that Michelin has always specialized in. We pride ourselves and we work hard and we constantly do research to improve the wear performance of our tires. So we're well positioned there. We can talk about our product portfolio later, but that's another place where now more than ever, you'll notice the difference between tires in an electric vehicle. And then last, but not necessarily least, is the noise. It's pretty simple to understand. You take away the internal combustion engine, you take out the transmission, and really the only thing you hear in an electric vehicle, and you know this well with the radio off, is the road noise, the tires rolling on the road. And so there are particular cases where there's called cavity noise that in certain vehicles and in certain road conditions you can hear it. So it's kind of like this ping, 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 ping. It's these road irregularities that excite the air in the tire and transmit through the cavity, and that's called cavity noise. For Tesla models, Michelin will put in an acoustic foam that helps reduce that particular type of noise. The other technology that we use in all of our tires is called piano tuning. If you take a look at a Michelin tire, there are at least 3 different block widths. So you've got these blocks that go around the tire, and the widths of them vary. That's on purpose. We do that, and we do that in a manner using an analytical tool that we nickname piano to tune the tire to reduce the noise. Think of it as if you had a piano, which is more annoying, playing the same note time and time and time again, or playing 3 separate notes. So each one of those block lengths is a different note, and it smooths out the noise more, and it makes it less noticeable when we specifically tune with this technology called piano on our tread blocks. And that you have on all Michelin tires. If you buy a Michelin tire, we do that tuning. So those are the 3 things that really are amplified, I would say, in an electric vehicle with respect to tires: the durability, how long the tire lasts on the vehicle, the rolling resistance, which translates into an impact in range. And I will tell you, we've done measurements and we've done testing, in between the lowest in a particular size, which was a Model 3, the lowest rolling resistance tire on the market, and the best, you can lose 20% of range. And then the noise. So those are the three things that make a difference. Why tires are more important than ever for electric vehicles.
Cool. I got a couple of questions for you guys. So one around
Sure.
durability, one around rolling resistance. So I didn't know this until the other day. I was looking at some of your material, and seems like different tires have different warranted ranges by the look of it. So first of all, could you explain what that warranty means? Like if my tire doesn't get to 30,000 miles, does that mean I can give it back and get a new one? Secondly, if electric vehicles potentially create 20% more wear, does that mean you warranty tires at a different mileage if it's put on an electric vehicle versus a gas vehicle? And then I'll ask separately about the rolling resistance question.
That's two great questions. So the warranty, there's the particular part of warranty you're talking about is the wear warranty, and you're right. Different tires have different amounts of wear warranty, and that's because we're tuning the tire between other performances and wear. That warranty is what we expect you to get. If you do not get that, then we will prorate the value of the tire. So if you lost 20%, if you were 20% away from the full warranty, then you would get 20% credit towards the purchase of the next Michelin tire. Our goal is not to. Our goal, and when you do that, every time that happens, we know about it. And so what we do is when we see that and we understand what's going on in the market, we design the next generation tire lines to perform better. The best example, well, one of the most recent examples is the Defender. So we went from the Defender T+H, which has an 80,000 mile warranty. We saw that there were a few types of vehicles, a few customers that weren't getting 80,000. So we've increased it by about 20%, so that more and more customers get that. So that warranty from Michelin is what we expect to get. If you don't get it, then we will prorate the amount that you lost, the difference between what you should have gotten and the value of the tire towards your next tire purchase.
And what do you or the tire shop need in terms of proof to make that happen?
So if you take it to a qualified tire dealer, which I think
anybody that sells Michelin tires should qualify, right?
Yeah. Then they'll know what to do. And
there's a claim process they'll go through. So they know the age of the tire on the dot week of the side of the tire, and if it's if you purchase the tire as a replacement, having that, if you when it was put on, so they know the mileage, that if it was say 40,000 miles and you're at 80, they know you got 40,000, and if it's a 45,000 mile warranty, there's a 5,000 mile credit towards that prorated.
And does that apply to OEM tires as well?
Good question. I'll let Russell take that one.
So the original equipment tires, there's not a warranty on it. It's on the replacement. If you buy the same tire, then the warranty kicks in.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a nuance. In the past, we had warranty on the original, but it says the industry shifted away from that. So it's it's typically the replacement tire that has that mileage warranty. Okay. I'll just add a little more if I could. The mileage warranty is one of three components of what we call the Michelin Promise Plan. So we have a mileage warranty on all our tires except for the Pilot Sport Cup 2, which is a track-focused tire. The second component is called the we want to make sure you're satisfied with your purchase. Let's say you bought a tire, and we'll get into the portfolio in a second, but let's just say you bought a Defender 2 that Russell mentioned above earlier is your replacement, and you got into it, and there's just something about it that you didn't like. You could bring it back to that dealership, and you'll get within 60 days, and you'll get credit towards another set of tires within the Michelin brand. And then the third component is what we call a roadside warranty. So and Russell, maybe you have a little more detail on that, but my understanding is if you break down, have a flat, you can call an 800 number and we'll come under kind of like AAA. And I think I don't know the details on how far they'll tell you, but it's you could go to michelinmen.com and they'll have the specific specificities of what that roadside coverage includes.
So I'm putting the link in the chat now.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So the second part of that question, and Bill,
Nick, I'm sorry, Nick. May I interrupt you? One thing on the tread mileage warranty, there is a little bit of a nuance. If you have a Model 3, you have a square or the same size tire in the front and the rear, so you can rotate any position. If you have a Plaid, XRS Plaid, or even a Model Y with a 21-inch performance, it's what we call a split fit, but you have a smaller size tire on the front than the rear, so you can't rotate front to back. You can do left to right, but not front to back. So in that case, we cut the mileage warranty in half for the rear tire, but the front tire gets the full warranty as it's written today. So we're honoring that for both ICE and EV with those criteria.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because vehicles never we need the tire rotation for you to get a full life of the tire. Vehicles never wear evenly front and rear. When it's a split fitment, it's almost always wearing faster in the rear because the rear is heavier and it's typically a rear wheel drive. And it just doesn't give that tire the chance it needs to get the full experience. So in those cases, we'll half the warranty on the rears.
Yep. Sorry, Nick, go ahead with your second question on rolling.
Well, actually, so still on that first part of the question, Harlan had a question that said, what about tires purchased from online tire sites?
Does not matter.
Yeah, because you purchase an online tire site, typically you're going to go somewhere to get it mounted. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a concern with the tire or it's time to replace it, you go back to that place. If you're not sure, go to michelinman.com. And we have people that will, consumer care, that will help you work through that process. We'll find somebody. You tell us your vehicle. You can either call or through a chat, vehicle, where are you? And we'll help you find an appropriate place.
Cool. And Bill, I saw you raise your hand. We'll just do this part of this question, then I'll come to you. So the second part of the question was, does the wear warranty change if you're putting it on a heavier EV vehicle rather than a gas vehicle?
No. Because
today.
We've had a lot of discussion about that. No, we feel like that's the appropriate performance for that segment. And so what we'll do, rather than penalize an EV consumer, is what you'll see is we'll continue to improve the wear. So our goal is that, I mean, EVs eventually, I think most of us will agree, EVs will eventually be the entire market. And so if we're preparing ourselves for the eventuality when most vehicles, if not all vehicles, are EVs, then the right thing to do in the long term is just to make sure that the tires that we produce are compatible with electric vehicles. And that's where we are today, and that's where we'll continue to be.
Cool. Good stuff. Bill Geffert, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, a question I had, as we're shopping for tires out there, so are your tires marked that they're, certain ones are designed for EVs or they're not? Or are all your tires just designed with EVs in mind?
So if it says Michelin on the sidewall, it's compatible with EVs. And we, like I said, we've had a lot of discussions with this. There are some things that are different about electric vehicles, but they're not unique to the vehicle market. The electric vehicles are heavier, but if you take a look at the breadth of types of vehicles that Michelin is designed for now and in the past, we know how to accommodate that. And so all of our vehicles take that into account. And when we design a tire line, we look at the dimension and we look at the vehicles and the vehicle part that may go on that dimension, and we make sure that it's designed well for that. So we, between the piano tuning for the noise and the fact that we have always focused on durability and a quiet, smooth, quiet ride and low rolling resistance, they're ready. And that's the next slide.
And just to add to that, if you go to the MichelinMan.com or even a discount or Tire Rack or Discount Tire, they have what they call the year, make, and model. So it'll ask you that information, and it will show you the original equipment of the size, the correct size, and it will denote if it was the original equipment tire or if it meets the specification of the load and speed index. So in the case if you have a Tesla Model 3, any year, if you have the 18-inch option, you're going to see that Michelin is the only original equipment tire that came on that Model 3 is an 18-inch. If you have the 19-inch, you're going to see a different brand, and if you have the 20-inch, you will see that Michelin has an option, as well as Pirelli has an option. So, and the way you know that, and if you're looking on our website and others, that original equipment, if you look in the description, you're going to see a T spec, a T0, a T1, or a T2 in the case of the Plaid. So it's a we call it a homologation mark. So that is a marking that the Tesla said, yes, you've met all our specifications. We approve this tire. We're putting this tire on the original equipment. But we're also, we want consumers to know when they go to replace that the tire on their vehicle, this is the right tire that they should be putting on there, if they want the same tire that came with it.
All righty. Well, we've got a few questions lined up, so we'll let a couple of folks ask, and then if you want to go through this slide, talk about the different ones, that would be good.
Great.
Ray Franklin, you're next.
I have a Model Y with 2 motors, front and rear. How does that affect the wear of the tire as opposed to just a rear motor?
I'll let Russell take that one. He's had some experience on some studies we did recently.
So, you know, the nice thing about 2 motors is that you split the torque between the front and the rear axle. So as long as you don't have the split fitment where one tire is wider than the other, the 2 motors can actually benefit the tire wear. So respect the rotation patterns, and that's a benefit. Because instead of all the power and all the torque coming out of one axle, it's spread across 2. And that's even better.
And I'm sure it's going to come up as a question. We can go ahead and talk about regenerative braking, the impact that may have. You know, versus acceleration, you got torque in one direction, versus regen braking, you've got it in both directions.
So let's talk about that a little bit. For regenerative braking, what we found, and there's a couple aspects to this. We've done some studies. We've put the vehicle on a rig and done measurements. Is that in many models of Tesla, all the regenerative braking is done in the rear. And that is somewhat unfortunate, because there are cases where on one particular model, even when it's all-wheel drive, a lot of times it's really functioning in rear-wheel drive. And so most of the torque, both for braking and acceleration, are in the rear.
Rear bias.
That's a challenge for the vehicle. For the tires. But we're understanding that, and we're working with Tesla as well, and others understand that, and we're still on a wear warranty. But yeah, the regenerative braking primarily in the rear, as opposed to more distributive braking, when you actually use the mechanical braking on the drums, is a bit different for certain models.
Just a quick question.
Wait, sorry, there's a safety tip here because it's winter. Keep in mind.
We're in Florida, remember.
It's coming from Texas.
It's true for deep water anyway, so it's true for hydroplaning. Okay, but I do appreciate you clarifying that. You take your foot off of the pedal, and it brakes. So when you go through, and I lived in Florida, you go through deep water, and you normally take your foot off the pedal, and you want to coast through. Point the way you want to go before you see the puddle, if you can. Take your foot off the accelerator and coast through. But now with the regenerative braking, you take your foot off and you actually start to brake. So keep that in mind. And so you probably want to try to get to a slower speed before you see the puddle, or just be prepared for that when you're going through deeper water.
modulate the throttle. So while you're just talking about regen, let me just ask the question about the rolling resistance. Does lower rolling resistance, so better range, automatically mean worse braking? Because you're theoretically reducing the tire friction. So I'd have thought if it rolls better, it won't stop as well.
No, that's not the case. One, we've got quite a bit of technology to deal with that. It's a good question, but no, because that's what we do quite a bit of research on.
Yeah, cool.
And quite frankly, that's the reason why we're successful in the homologations we get.
Yeah, we've called that in the past Michelin total performance. In some cases, right, you may give up one for the other. What we do with our tire designs and our technology materials is we try to break those traditional compromises, so you have good range and you have good braking.
Yeah.
And since you're in Florida, I'll let you know the biggest challenge is between rolling resistance and wet braking. And we know this, and that's quite a bit of what we work on. One of the big breakthroughs that broke that compromise between wet braking and rolling resistance was adding silica to tires. So Michelin was the first manufacturer to add silica to tires, and that was a huge leap in being able to have low rolling resistance tires that did well in wet braking. Since then, there are other technologies that we have found and introduced in the tires to continue to break that compromise. But that's the one that's really tricky.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, Judd, you're up next. Oh, you're muted.
Okay.
Here we go.
So I have a 2019 Model 3 with just a little over 20,000 miles on it, and I need new tires. They're down to 330 seconds on the front. And going back to something you guys said earlier, that the warranty on an OEM tire only applies if I buy the same exact tire.
No,
No.
That's not what he said.
What did you say then?
Michelin tire.
So I buy
Well,
any Michelin tire, the warranty applies.
No, what?
Yeah.
Let me play it back, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Russell. So if you buy a Michelin tire, it is warranted. But if your car comes from Tesla new with a Michelin tire on it,
Yes.
it is not warranted by Michelin.
For mileage.
It's only for mileage. It's only when you buy a new set of Michelin tires directly yourself that you'll get the wear warranty.
Right.
So
The first replacement gets the warranty. That's correct.
there is no mileage warranty on the OEM tires at all.
Correct.
So again, I'm going to be very precise on if you buy the same OEM tire as a replacement, that set is warranted. The ones that come on the vehicle when it's brand new, and those are not warranted.
Okay, but if you go to Tesla and buy Tesla OEM Michelin tires for your second set, they are warranted.
Yes,
they're warranted, but but basically the tires that are on my car that came from the factory have 0 mileage warranty.
For wear, correct.
Wear, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, yeah.
Workmanship, yes, but not wear.
I'm very happy with the tires, but as I understand it, the mileage warranty is like 55,000 on an MXM4, and I got 20.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, a little.
I think.
Yeah.
What?
Because
35?
you have a W rated, so the MXM4 we have different speed ratings. If you look in the Promise Plan or on the Michelin.com, a W rated is actually reduced to 45, whereas a lower one would be at 55.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was surprising to me because I'm not a hot rodder, and I've bought Michelin tires mostly because of their reliability for decades. And I was kind of surprised that these tires are worn this soon.
Did you? May I ask a question? Did you rotate about every 8,000 miles? That will
Yes,
help.
I did. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So we understand that there are several reasons that we now understand why that's happening. And It doesn't always happen, but there are times when it happens. Like I said, when if you claim a warranty or whatever, we'll get it back, and we're working on it.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
But
Jim.
if
Nancy,
you look on the screen, if your main concern is wear, there are other products that have a greater wear performance.
I want the tire to do all things perfectly.
So do I. I really do.
Don't we all?
But you know,
The
the
unicorn
what do you
tire
define
with
as
all the-
perfect?
Yeah.
What is perfect for you? And that's not all. And I promise you, that's not the same as for everyone else.
I know. Rides like it's
Yeah.
on rails, totally quiet. You know, I get it.
So there's a question from Nancy, and there's also a question from Eric in the chat. Russell, if you want to bring up the chat, take a look at that. But we'll let Nancy go next.
Okay, and I'll look at the
Hi,
chat.
you already answered the rear wheel drive. I have a Model 3 rear wheel drive. And speaking of the greater wear, I mean, you're not going to want me to buy anything other than Michelin's, obviously, but boy, oh boy, did I get a lot of wear on the rear wheel drive. And I only had 14,000 miles. I rotated them at 10. I didn't really know that you should do it every 8,000 miles.
So every 6 to 8.
Told me
6 to 8, yeah.
6 to 8. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I went to Discount Auto because they I got a roofing nail on my tire because I live in a development where there's a lot of construction, and they said that they offer the Michelins, and they were really good about fixing the tire. It was fine. The thing that I really asked, because all the other questions, all my questions were answered, the air pressure. Okay, so I had my first experience adding air to my tires. I had pumped them up when I went away for a month and a half. But of course, they lose air after a season going into the cold weather. So I can't get them exactly where they should be at 40. I have like one says 42 at cold pressure. One says 39. And when I use the air pressure thing, it takes like 5 minutes for the computer to register what they really are. So I have to wait. So where should they really be at cold when they're cold? At 40 exactly? Or can they be at 42, 142, 143, you know, that kind of thing?
So you look the target pressures on the placard. Right, that's on the B pillar. So you open the door, you look down here, and typically that's the target
40.
pressure. Okay, it's 40. Then what you want is you know, kind of first thing in the morning, or you know, no longer than a 5-minute drive when it's cold. That's the pressure you want it to be at 40.
So
if it's at 41
okay,
instead of 40, we're not gonna.
it doesn't really matter though, does it? 2 pounds more. Oh, it does.
2 pounds more. That's okay.
Yeah, the accuracy of your gauge, you know, is, unless you have a race gauge, is going to probably be plus or minus 1 psi anyway. But to Russell's point, yeah, when you do check them or add air or bleed air if you're over, do it when the vehicle is set for a while, so the tire's cool, so it's a steady state. If you've been driving for an hour and you go in and do it, you got heat coming off the brakes. It's going to affect it. So when it does cool down, it may be off from what you set it at. So that may be some of what you're experiencing. But you're right, that does the computer and your gauge. But if you once you know your particular gauge to how the computer reads, let's just say if you put in 40 on your gauge and it reads 42 consistently, then you know your gauge is say off 2 psi, and you can adjust for that on your next airing to compensate.
Yeah.
Okay. But for what?
And just to let you know,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
As you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask for better wear. For better wear on a rear-wheel drive Model 3, I don't know which tire I should be having because it does chew up it really chews up the treads on the rear wheel. I mean, since you just explained that the regen, whether you're braking on the drums or doing the regen, it's all going to the wheel.
So where we have seen quite a bit of positive feedback, and I don't know which dimension you have, even from Tesla consumers, is on the Cross Climate 2. It's got a 60,000-mile warranty. It seems to be doing reasonably well. Again, if you put that on and you don't get 60, you got a decent chance of getting 60. But if you don't, we'll prorate that towards the next set of Michelin tires.
You said cross climate, you said?
Cross Climate 2. Is that on the page, Carl? I don't have
can you see my laser pointer?
I'll type that into the chat. Go hang on.
And I've got a copy of this slide because you guys gave it to me after the TeslaCon.
Yes.
I will email this slide to everybody that's on the call.
Perfect.
So that you've got a copy of it.
Thank you. It was Nancy, right? Nancy, you said you have the 18-inch MXM4?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, it's got a 45,000-mile warranty. We've seen a range of people. We polled a lot of people at the TeslaCon, and got some information. There was a unique case, and I'm going to bring it up because we had Nick, help me with her name again, from St. Louis.
Lydia.
Lydia had got 56,000, almost 57,000 on her original Promisee MXM4 18-inch. So driving style does have an impact on it. I know, rotation, air pressure, all those come into play. The types of road in Florida, if you live in an area that has a very aggressive aggregate like oyster shells, that could come into play. There's just a lot of factors. And when we test this, the mileage warranty, and we tested on a variety of surfaces and roads, and that's how we come up with kind of an average of where we think most at least half the population should see on those tires. Yeah.
But that's a very good point. There are two things I would ask you to do, and I'll ask you to do this regardless of whether it's your electric vehicle or not. One is maintain your air pressure. So you've got the gauge in the vehicle, just check that regularly once a week, maintain air pressure. Keep it at the air pressure that it's recommended. We design the tires for that air pressure. And in fact, we design the tires for the air pressure that it will be at once it gets hot. That's why we ask you to set it at plaque air pressure cold, because the tire is designed, and we know how to do this to figure out what the final pressure was going to be, and that's where we design the tire to operate. So check your tire pressure, and then rotate your tires every 6,000 to 8,000 miles. If you do that, and it's a replacement tire, it's not the set of tires that doesn't come back on your vehicle, call us, go to a dealer that sells Michelin, and we'll try to make you whole. I recommended the Cross Climate 2. There's some other options on there as well. There's the Pilot Sport All Season 4, which is a little bit sportier option, and then all the way to Ultimate and Wear is a Defender 2, which has got an 80,000-mile warranty, and I think you'll get 80,000 miles on that. I'm fairly confident you'll get there. You'll get very close.
And if you guys check your email inboxes, I've just sent the email out. It might take a couple of minutes for the system just to send it, but you should have an email from me with this document and another one that you guys had at TeslaCon as well.
Okay.
And again, if you try a tire and you don't like it, there's the Michelin Promise Plan.
And Russell, maybe this is a good time to talk about, the original equipment that's designed typically for range and noise. That's the priority of the OEMs. And then the replacement tires, there's different priorities on there. Typically, especially with the Tesla, we mentioned this earlier, the tire comes with what we call acoustic foam in the tire. When you go over to the pure replacement types of tires, they may not have, or they will not in these cases here today, have that acoustic foam. So just be aware of that. And again, that's where your dealer should be able to help when you're looking for some options, some recommendations. But know that if you're sensitive to noise, and you get this tire and it really, something that you may notice that you didn't notice before, then you have the option to go back to the original equipment or a different one with the Promise Plan.
And quick question on the OE tires. So are they only available from Tesla?
No, absolutely not. The service centers do about probably a third of the business. The others, 2/3, people buy those tires from other places, either online or through a local discount or even a local dealer that they can order the tire.
Okay.
In fact, we monitor that to make sure that you have whatever options you may prefer.
Yeah. So is it true to say then that, and you've probably got other tires as well, but all 6 of the ones that you're showing on screen now should be available at Tire Kingdom, Discount Tire, wherever, but only the 2 on the left are available. If you go to Tesla, you can only get the 2 they'll only fit the 2 on the left.
That's correct. We've done some visiting, and Tesla's told us that they will only sell the T-Mark tires at the service centers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you do go to a service center, you're going to be your choice will be the original equipment tire. If it's whether it's a Michelin or another brand, depending on your rim size.
Okay. Do you want to take a crack at that question that Eric had in the chat, Russ?
Oh yeah. So Carl, I'm gonna pass that one to you. There's
Okay. One more before we jump up where we talk, since we spent a fair amount of time on the mileage and the warranty. I heard someone say earlier, I forget the gentleman's name, that he was at 330 seconds on his front tire. The warranty as Russell said, we've tested, we've designed these tires. The legal limit is 230 seconds. So that's where we say that for the mileage warranty, if you take it down to there, that's what the expectation is. So we test it to. We do know that some tire dealers will not rotate if it's at 330 seconds. So this is something that you may encounter, but these, 230 seconds is the legal limit in where the design to get that full mileage of the tire. So what's the question? I can't see it.
We'll actually shave the tread off a tire
Mhm.
and do a certain amount of testing to validate its performance.
Yes.
Warren.
Okay, so the question, Russell, I don't know if you can see it in the chat. Eric says he's got the track package installed on his Model 3.
Yeah.
He says he's not often at the track and he doesn't want to change the wheels.
He's got the 245 35 20s. Is that the one we're looking at?
235 35 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl, you can.
So yeah, I'll take that question. So there's a couple of things. So the track, as my understanding, the track package, it's really some suspension and bushings. And do you have the cup tie? The cup 2 is an option on the website. So I don't know how far you went with your performance package, or is it just the 20-inch or 235 through 235 20 Pilot Sport 4S?
Are you there, Eric? Can you answer that?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies. Yeah, so I do have the 245 35 20 on there, and I just wanted to know if so I did switch them already for a cheaper Falcon Zenith FK 510, but I just wanted to know if there's a better, because as mentioned, I'm not on the racetrack that often, and I would like to have like a daily driver tire on the same wheels. And if you can recommend anything that's in the Michelin lineup.
And Carl, I'm in the catalog, and that's all I'm seeing for that dimension. You're a little bit more you're a little bit better than me on figuring out.
Yeah, no, it was. I wasn't aware they went to the 245 35 on that. I thought it was just the 235 35. So, did you plus it up to a 245 when you went to the other brand, or are you sure it was 245 35?
I'm not 100% certain if it's a 245 as well, but I'm pretty sure I asked to have the same size.
That's what I'm seeing in the catalog, Carl.
Okay, it is okay. Okay, thank you, Russell.
Yeah.
So yeah, so mine is, like I said, the option, you've got some stiffer bushings. You might have, there's some, I think you get a little more adjustability with some of your settings in your traction control with that package. But if you're going to drive it not taking it to the track, and what is your priority? More of a comfortable ride, more of a better wearing tire? What are you looking for as a non-track?
Yeah, sure. I just because of course they're a bit more pricey, so I just wanted to have a cheaper option and a more comfortable ride on city streets.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking to see if a 235/40 will work. That's kind of where
Yeah, I
I
was
am.
thinking it might still fit on the same size rim with a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Probably okay. I would recommend probably going to the OE tire or to the, well, I'll let Russell weigh in once he sees if it's compatible.
Yeah, I'll get back with you. I'm in the in a catalog. In this, what I'm looking at now is the same thing that Consumer Care has, and I'll find an answer, find a proposal. But you're probably going to have to go to a different size. But if you're not trying to go on the track, then I'd probably say we can find something else for you.
Thanks, Russell.
Yeah, we can answer that. Make some recos on that. We can do a little more research offline, and if you'll drop your email in the chat, or we can respond that way as well.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Les has a question about cold versus hot tire pressure. So he says he sets his tire pressure to 45 when it's cold, but on long trips he sees it increase to 51 to 52. Is that, I'll paraphrase, is that to be expected?
That's good. And we designed the tire long term for that higher pressure. But you got to set the pressure cold so it's at the right pressure when it's hot.
Okay, so it's not unusual to see a 5.
Yeah, I'll be frank. That we do endurance testing, and we've set it at that placard pressure, and yeah.
So in that case, if you're at 45 cold or you're getting to 51, 52 hot, so call that a 6 to 7 psi. Doing road driving on a hot day, that's not unusual. If you're tracking it, you can get 10 to 12 psi of growth.
Cool. All righty. Chuck Marshall, you got a question?
So while I was at TeslaCon, I brand new owner, and I talked to many people, and they all recommended 45 pounds of pressure for tires. Is that what's that about? Versus the 40 on the door jam?
If you put more pressure than is recommended, you're going to change the shape of the tire in the what we call a contact area. The amount of tire, the shape of the tire as it's on the ground. And what's probably going to happen is you're going to put more pressure in the center and less on the shoulders, and you're going to wear faster. You're going to center wear. So I wouldn't recommend that. Okay,
thanks.
Especially for OE tire. Yeah, just whatever they put on there.
The other maybe a trade-off is at a higher pressure, you may have a harsher ride too.
It'll be noisier, a harsher ride. Yeah, both of those.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a question from Deborah in the chat.
Hi.
Can you see that?
Let me scroll down to Deborah's. I was my Model X is from March 2017. Originally using Continentals, which would spring a leak, running over a leaf. I've heard a little bit of that. 3 years ago, I purchased Cross Climb. Deborah.
Yes.
I know you, Deborah. Come on. I thought I recognized you.
Yeah.
We talked.
We talked about the tires at the TeslaCon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I got the impression you were happy with it. You had the cross climbing SUVs. And that sounds like a perfect fit for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. That's
It's
a great
example
of why we have
leak.
different offers.
Yeah. Did it solve your pressure leak, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No more popping as soon as they hit a leaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put in my my plug for checking air pressure, and Russell knows this. we test all our tires. There's a certain threshold, but all tires are going to leak a little bit. So it's important to check them fairly regularly. Once a month is recommended. And because you have the computer, it's easy just to flip over and see what they're at. But some may leak faster than others. We put a lot of technology to minimize that, but it's always a good idea to check it, to maintain your best wear, your best comfort, your best noise by doing that as well.
Yeah.
And rotate.
And again, one of the reasons to check is, like in the case of Deborah, you may have a puncture, a slow puncture, and you need to know that. So it's, and especially before you go on a road trip. So please check your pressure.
Yeah. If you're consistently adding a 1 or 2 psi every month, we recommend taking it to a tire dealer to have them check. Maybe there's a small nail that you can't see, and they put it up on the lift or take it off. They can find it and they can repair it. And that's a good, leads me to another question. Are tires repairable for your Tesla if they have the acoustic foam in the case of the OE? And the answer is yes. If the puncture is within the what we call the belt edges, the tire is repairable. There's a procedure. Most of the Michelin tire dealers will have it or have access to it, but you just cut out the foam and do the normal plug patch or chemical patch, they call it, where you're prepping the surface and actually doing not a plug. I use the word plug patch, but it's not the traditional where you put the rubber in with the kind of the tarred string. It's a special round patch that has to be done by dismounting the tire and doing it from the inside. But yeah, they are repairable.
Some the industry standard.
Yeah, some places may say that they're not repairable because they may not want to do it. But if the puncture is within, the guidelines for the, help me out, Russell. What's the organization?
So I work with. Yes, I work with. Well, I work with the USTMA, U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association. I represent Michelin on the publications committee, and there are other tire manufacturers on there as well. And we're all aligned. It's not just Michelin. One, you can repair them. And two, once you repair them, you don't have to, you remove the area where the acoustic is, you don't have to patch it back. So we're all aligned on that.
Talking about acoustic foam, Ray had a question. He said, do Michelin, so the OEM tires have foam in them, do Michelin tires have the same thing? Do you guys have foam in them? And a related question, follow up from me, why don't you have foam in your replacement tires?
So the OE ones do have foam, the replacement ones don't, because the studies that we have done and the feedback that we're seeing shows that it's not, if we put foam in it, the tire's going to cost more. And we're not sure the majority of customers are going to get the value out of it.
And what is the purpose of the foam?
So that's a good question. That the foam deals with noise in a certain frequency, and it's called cavity noise.
200 to 300 hertz.
And it is this noise. It's kind of like if you listen for it, it's like a basketball boing, 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 and you'll hear that most often if you go over irregular joints or cracks in the pavement, that kind of thing. If your normal drive doesn't encounter that, or you normally drive with some kind of noise or radio and it's light and it drowns it out, you're not going to notice the difference. So we're very much focused on you, which is why we're doing this. And we listen to what consumers say. We've done testing. We've had other organizations do testing. And unless you're on a particular type of surface, you're not going to notice the difference.
But in the case of the Tesla, that's a requirement from Tesla to equip all original equipment tires with this acoustic technology, whether it be Michelin or the other brands. So yes, if it's a Michelin tire that came on your vehicle, it will have foam in it.
And if you're one of the cases where you replaced it with a Michelin tire that doesn't have the foam and you notice a difference and it bothers you, again, one, you'll notice that probably pretty quickly, and you'll be within the Michelin Promise Plan. Call us, Get on the internet and we'll take care of you. That's the whole point. Is we do not want you riding around for months and months and years on a tire that you just didn't like to begin with.
Russell, they cut the lights out on me again. Let me go flip those on. I'll let you take the next
Yeah.
question.
All right. Judd's got a question. I'm just going to jump in ahead of him because it's related to that noise question.
Sure.
I've noticed whenever they resurface I-95 these days, it seems like it's significantly quieter. The new asphalt that they're putting down seems to be a lot quieter, like nearly silent in some cases. Does that mean you would expect to get better wear on quieter road surfaces because it's not abrading the tire as much as, you know, if you're generating a lot of noise out of the tire, does that mean kind of by definition it's wearing it a lot?
That's an interesting question. So
I'll let you think about that. You can email
a
me
newly paved smooth road, a newly paved road with asphalt gives better wear, as long as the aggregate's not too large, which typically it isn't, for two reasons. It's smoother, and asphalt in general just does better in traction and that sort of thing. So that's a whole different topic. But
You're gonna get in macro and micro. Right?
No, I'm refusing to do that. I'm pulling up out of that. So that's an interesting question. I had never seen. I'm trying to look at correlations in my head. That could be the case, but I don't want to officially say that.
Yeah, the engineer in me says that if it's dissipating a lot of energy through noise, it ought to be wearing the tire more.
At an extreme,
yeah,
you know, a gravel road chews up tires, right? Just rough on tires. Well, we make tires that resist that. That's a whole different category, different conversation. But that's the case where it's rougher, and most tires will wear faster on that. So that does make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Judd, back to you.
Yeah, I got a question about the quietness of these tires and the foam inside. Are there any objective measurements in this at all that we ran this tire down the road at 60 miles an hour and this one was, you know, minus 63 dBA and this one was minus 67 dBA, or is it just like it's all like some kind of mystery measurement? And
no. I'm looking for the website that's got the graphic with the measurements to answer that question. But we've done measurements. We've got a dummy in there with microphones where the ears are and before and after.
But do you have a list of
course,
that?
We know the surface that makes that noise, and so we have that on our tracks. We don't have to go hunt it down. So yeah, it's
But is that listed in the catalog or something that this tire is rated at this much noise? I mean, I've seen the spectrum plots, and I understand the more noise at low frequencies and all that. But is there some kind of an objective measurement that I can say, oh yeah, this one is, 2 dB quieter than this one in some way besides?
So here's what we're in the process of doing. I mean, like, we finished this a few weeks ago, and we'll put it on the website. Is we rated all our tires on a scale of 1 to 10. Including noise, and that's based off of a lot of testing due. So Michelin does testing for all its tires, both objective noise and subjective noise. So I can't give you what you're looking for Michelin tires now, but you will probably see by the end of first quarter of next year our rating on a scale of 1 to 10, unless one of my more marketing friends says 10 points is too many, but on some kind of scale, that rates our tires.
That'd be a rating just for noise?
Yeah, just for noise. Well, all our performances, we've lined up all our performances on a scale of 1 to 10 for everything we offer, and we're rating them. So there'll be a column for noise, and it's EV that's driven us to do this, because we'll have efficiency in there, which relates to range, and we'll help you understand what you might be trading off if you go across this page.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had before, you couldn't really cross compare because it was more in the family. With what Russell and the team's done, you can compare the winter tire all the way to the summer tire and in between, and tell what the differences are from all of the performance that are listed there.
I would strongly prefer not to have to swap tires out.
Yeah,
after I
yeah,
bought
I
them.
understand that. So here's what's gonna happen. This conversation will come up, I promise you, if they ever drag their feet on updating that website. That's a promise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Real quick on a time check, it's 7:05. How much is allocated, Dick, for this? We're good. We're good to keep going. Just want to make sure we respect your time.
Yeah, no, I scheduled it through 7:30. I know a few people have already dropped off, but as long as there's questions, we'll keep going.
I do have a couple. Real sorry to interrupt you there. I do have a couple of things I was going to share through. We could take another 10 to 15 minutes of questions, but it's some things about our website and some other resources that can help answer some of these questions down later. If you, so I want to leave a little bit of time for that.
Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead now. Okay. So resources, michelinman.com. This is a snapshot of our website. Many of you may have seen it or hopefully have seen it. What I'm going to highlight here is there's this button called Shop. So if you click on the Shop button, which you see right here, you will get, we actually have an electric vehicle section that's just been updated. So we have a couple of items under. One is Shop based on your needs, learning more about the innovation, some of the stuff we've shared, and then just a general FAQ specifically for EVs, because most facts kind of are broad. So if you click on the very first one, this is called the Shop EV tires. And what we've done is maybe a different look. You can still put in your make and model and it'll spit out the options, but this is a little more consumer friendly, or based on maybe on what are your priorities. If you're looking for range or durability of performance all the way to winter, kind of lines up with the tires we showed. So you can pick that and we'll drill down and give you some recommendations on those tires that would be recommended for those categories or seasons. Is there a question?
No.
Okay. And if you go to the back up here to the Explorer EV Tire Innovations, you'll get to this page here. So that there's talking about some information, why we're on 8 out of 10 electric vehicles choose Michelin tires. So there's some videos, there's some links in there. One of the links is to a Motor Trend. We have a partnership with Motor Trend. So there's a bunch of articles. Russell actually wrote a couple of these and is credited with them in there as well. Or you can go directly to the EV Tire Learning Center on the Motor Trend website to get to those articles as well. They're all linked on the michelinman.com. So if you go there, you can click on them to take you to the page. But it's just 2 ways of getting to that. Really good information. Some of the questions you've asked today, these 10 articles will actually cover in more detail as well, or it can be used as reference.
And coming soon, and I checked on this a couple weeks ago, will be a specific Michelin page dedicated to Tesla. And probably what we'll do is when that's up and running, I'll send that to you, Nick, and you can distribute that.
Cool. Sounds good. Actually, I've got one question. Since you had that winter thing up there, so I don't know what the split is in the club, but clearly there's some folks like me who are in Florida all year round, and then we've got a bunch of folks who are snowbirds. For say, we got similar requirements. So for 2 people who've got similar range, durability, performance requirements, would you recommend a different tire if I was in Florida all year round versus a snowbird and spent half the year up in Massachusetts or somewhere?
So I actually did a webinar a couple weeks ago in Quebec. And somebody asked a similar question. They said, I live in Quebec and I'm driving to Florida. And in Quebec, especially this time of year, winter tires are required. I strongly recommend them, and they are required. And he asked, should I leave Quebec with all season or summer tires or winter tires? My recommendation, if you're traveling to Canada or someplace that's got significant snow, well, let me back up, because you're in Florida. Florida, you may have what are called summer tires. Those are very good and wet and dry. They are not meant for temperatures 40 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Okay. If you go to some place that's getting any significant type of weather, consider switching to an all-season tire. If you get real winter weather, ice, snow, slush, consistent cold temperatures, then you put on winter tires. Okay, so you folks in Florida, you have summer tires. Even in the Panhandle, which is where I grew up in Pensacola, you're probably good with summer tires. Certainly, all season tires will cover you. If you're going up north, the Northeast, Northwest, or Canada, then consider in the winter driving up there with winter tires.
Yeah, I just watched a video a couple of days ago about a guy. I forget what the channel is. It's like tire comparisons or something, and he actually did a test of the Pilot Sport All Season, the Cross Climate, and a couple of others against the pure winter tire. Now, and he did a particularly weird test, which is he was in track mode, so he disabled all the traction control.
I think I know the video. Yeah,
another video. But I was surprised by the result, because he came out and said that certainly in that test, the Cross Climate seemed to come out remarkably well.
There's a reason why. The Cross Climate 2 is 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake certified, so it passes the testing to get good traction in snow.
Okay,
that's on purpose, which is one of the reasons it's a phenomenal tire wherever you are. It's designed to do well in channel water and wet, and dry. It's got the 60,000 mile warranty, and it's good in snow.
There was a similar, it may be the same one. His name is Jonathan Benson with Tire Review. He said, could you take premium all season or winter, compare them to like the cheap, very cheap tire. They did a comparison of a worn Cross Climate to a new tier 3, tier 4 winter, and it was it outperformed. or if that's the one that you're thinking of, or maybe a slight variation of it. Tire Review, yeah.
So if you want to hedge your bets, then it sounds like the Cross Climate 2 is a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
Now, Russell, let me ask the question. If you live in Florida, you're going to go to Canada for say a month to visit, but you're driving back. Because this has a 3 Peak Mountain Snowflakes, it would meet the requirement if it was in the winter season. That would be an acceptable option for a short-term visit.
Yeah, for a short trip, Cross Climate 2 is what I'd recommend.
If you live in Florida and you're going to make if you're up there for 6 months or during the full winter, you're better off. But a short duration it meets the requirement legally for the winter as a winter designation. You would be okay, so you wouldn't have to necessarily change it out.
And here's the difference, and it'll help you make a decision. The winter tire is called the X Ice Snow. There's a key word in that, ice.
Yeah.
That tire is specifically designed to have improved traction on ice. So if you're up there and it's a short trip and you're driving back and it's really icy, maybe you wait another day. Okay. If it's snow, and you're comfortable driving on snow, that's a great tire for snow.
Yeah, very good point.
Any other questions from anybody?
I do have a question I can't see who's left, but I started to ask it earlier when we were talking about regen braking. Do most people that are on this call drive with a full regen, partial, or none? What's the straw poll of what people?
Full for me.
Full.
Full for me.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, full.
Yeah,
Full.
I kind of thought that was the answer, but I'd like to ask and see if there are some people that choose to do something different. Yeah. Okay.
Anecdotally, what I found, Carl, is that brand new owners will often set the car to low regen because they like the feel of it, like an ice car.
Yeah, the transition.
After a week, they go, well, let me just try the full regen, and then after that, they never go back.
That's my personal experience. So if some of you, we went to Tesla convention in Florida, and both of us rode back and forth on full regen. First time I drove a Tesla, it took a while to get accustomed to. Now I like it. It's, kind of the one pedal driving, and I appreciate it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I appreciate Carl asking the question.
Yeah.
But I withdraw that.
And related to that, if you're in winter conditions, I think it makes sense to maybe go to low or off, so you don't have to worry about if your normal habit of lifting, right?
Or if it's flooding, like so.
Or flooding
for my
in
friends in Florida,
yeah.
I went to school in Tallahassee and I lived in Pensacola, and there was some times where I went through some really rough weather, and you know what it's like. Consider put it on low regen, so you don't have to deal with that.
Drive on mine.
Yeah.
Question.
Does anybody do that already? Just curious.
I don't personally. I don't change, but it's the reason why I got all-wheel drive, so that I've got much more stability in the wet.
All-wheel drive does not help you stop.
But it'll give you a lot more control.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean,
Not when you're trying to stop.
If you're fully aquaplaning, yeah. But the fact that I've got microsecond traction, independent microsecond traction on all four wheels, it's completely different than an ICE car. Completely different. That's why. I mean,
it helps you go faster. I agree. It helps you go faster.
It'll help you if it's in dodgy conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're the experts on this, but
yeah.
The basic physics says if I've got four independently driven wheels,
the key word is drive. So when you're driving and you've got your foot on the gas and all that, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I as an engineer and as a person like cars, I love all-wheel drive. But I promise you, I'll tell you a story when it's not water, but it's winter conditions. I was in a little at the time. This is way back. I'm old. This was like 25, 30. It was 30 years ago. I was in like a Corolla, front-wheel drive at this light. I'm in Michigan. It's winter. Four-wheel drive vehicle sitting next to me. He takes off, four-wheel drive. Of course, he goes faster than me. The light ahead of us turns red. I stopped. He was going faster than me. He slid all the way through the intersection.
Yeah.
Now, in Michigan, everybody knows this, so there were people at their green light waiting for him to go through before they went. And that analogy works for deep water. So.
Yeah. Question from Nancy.
Yeah, tell me if I'm ignorant about this. The full regen is when you have your setting on hold, correct? On the brakes?
No.
There's a setting.
I understand that statement. So what we're talking about is there are modes that
three modes. There's three. Yeah. One is roll, one is hold, and one is like the regular.
No, that's it.
Well, you put your brake at a traffic light.
Nick, I'm gonna let you answer that one. Nick, I know what you're talking about, but one of you can answer better
that's
than me.
different. There are two different settings that we're talking about. One is what is the behavior of the car when you're stopped, right? So that's the whole thing. What we're talking about here is when you lift off the accelerator and the car slows down.
You slow down there.
There are two different settings. One is a more aggressive. One is the less aggressive.
Oh, standard or sport. I never something like that.
Well, there's a setting for steering, which is a standard or sport or comfort. There's a setting for the hold versus roll versus whatever when you're braking, and then there's a third setting, which is the one we're talking about, which is I forget what it is, chill or standard. I think I forget. They changed the labels for different cars, but that's for the amount of regen you have.
So, what is the full regen? Chill standard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And it's easy to tell the difference because if you completely lift off the accelerator and the car just
you get this. Everybody leans.
We've all done it.
That's standard.
No, if you lift off the accelerator and the car slows down relatively quickly, that's standard. The other one is more like it tries to mimic what a gas car is like. It's when you lift off the car just
so which is better to have it on?
Yeah,
I've had it on standard. It really pushes you forward. forward and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to get
All
the
right.
full range of your
But-
vehicle standard, unless you're in poor traction conditions.
But that
Yeah.
also wears more than the chill. It's going to wear your treads more because you're on full rear.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to wear the rears more, but it isn't going to wear the fronts as much. So, because
Rotate when you can.
So then
Yeah,
on the rear wheel, they should have it on chill.
That's a good
Should I put it
suggestion
on-
for Tesla. Maybe they'll let you dial it in between.
well, the
Maybe I
problem
just
if you have it on chill, yeah,
take my car in for all-wheel drive and be
I mean,
done with that.
the fundamental difference is one pedal driving. If
Right.
you change it down to chill regen, you will have to brake.
Well, then you're using your drums all the time, and then you're going to have,
But discs, Teslas don't have drums, but you have
Use
discs.
yes.
So you're going to wear your pads,
and you're
going to have to use two pedals.
right, and you use your brakes anyway when your car screams at you when somebody comes out or stops
Oh,
in front
yeah.
of you.
That's true. Yeah.
Or you're
Yeah.
using them anyway.
But the reason why you never have to change your brake pads in most Teslas is because the regen is taking care of most of your slowing down.
You trade brake pad wear for tire wear.
Yeah.
And you're getting
Wow.
the reason for regen is so when Tesla says that you get 310 miles of range, that every time you let off, that you're actually putting some energy back in to do the battery, so you can utilize that for driving.
Yeah. So you bought a long range. I'm not going to suggest that you drive all the time on anything but standard.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to make sure. 'Cause I was wondering about that chill. I never tried it out. I just left all the default ones on.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this forum, right? You get to ask those questions.
Try it. You might like it, but most
Yeah,
people don't.
I have the rear wheel drive too. I have rough riding eyes. And by the way, you talked about the noise. I mean, what I have to say about that is I'm on 75 all the time. I don't know. The tires, I don't even think they make a difference on the roads that in a lot of the highways in Florida are so torn up. I mean, going through Tampa, going to St. Petersburg. I don't even think having quiet tires, I don't even care about having quiet tires because you're never going to get quiet on those roads.
You
All
want to
that
try
construction going on
try
forever.
driving in Texas and Massachusetts and see.
And Carla and I swapped music lists, so we didn't have a problem with that either.
Well, I was going to say, I don't even think
All right,
bother about being quiet.
we're heading towards the end. Any last thoughts that you guys want to leave us with, or any comments for the folks who might be listening to the recording and didn't get to ask questions and things?
Carl?
Yeah, I do have a few. I'm going to repeat myself. You heard this earlier. Check your pressure. Make sure it's at placard. Rotate 6 to 8, and in some cases, your vehicle, depending on the software update you have, will pop up and say recommend rotating your tires. So if you have that option, don't just hit close and forget about it. Please try to. It will help you on your tire wear and your replacement time and extend the life of your tire. Hallelujah.
And I've got one more recommendation. Well, at least once a month, inspect your tires.
Yeah.
And when you inspect your tires, it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's worth it. Inspect both the outside of the tire, it's easy to see, and the inside. Because sometimes tires wear faster on the inside of the tire, where it's not as visible on the outside. On the front, it's easy. You turn the wheel and you can kind of look at it. But you might have to get a little bit closer or get down. But once a month, inspect your tires, both inside and outside of the tread, at the very least.
And generally, will Tire Kingdom and those type of places rotate your tires for free, or do you have to pay for that?
So I'll give you an example. I like to use discount tires. So when I've bought a vehicle, a heavy vehicle that's different, it's at the same tires. If I take it there, I think they charge $20 a tire, lifetime rotation. So I'm sure others will do that. Tire Kingdom's big in Florida. I'm sure they will have that. If you purchase the tires there, it's usually baked into the price. Lifetime balance and rotation. So it just depends on if you got the tires there, or if you just want to find a place to do it. They may charge you like a lifetime, or they may be a one-time, just if you do it a one-off type
And this hasn't come up yet. I'm surprised. Is there any need to ever align your wheels if you haven't had work done on the car? So assuming you haven't been in an accident, the car is just general. Is it worth getting the alignment checked or not? Because in the UK, you have an MOT every year. One of the things they do is they check your alignment.
So if your tires, if your wheels are out of alignment, they can cause irregular wear in the tires.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should. If you hit a pretty nasty pothole or bump, you should do it, check it sooner than later, because the alignment's a mechanical thing with things that are tightened and all of that. And if you hit something hard enough, you're gonna force it to be out of alignment. So yeah, there's a need to have that done regularly. Especially if the vehicle pulls or you see your regular wear and tire somewhere.
Or if you're doing, as Russell recommended, your monthly checks, if you notice a funny wear pattern, that could be an indicator of an alignment issue too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the beauty of modern cars is, they have the electronic steerings, and if a car would tend to want to drift to one side if it was out of alignment, some of that gets damped out. So you may not, you can't rely on the old let go of the steering wheel. Does it tend to move? It's because of the modern systems, so you can't always rely on the feel.
Cool.
That's a good one, Carl.
All righty. Let us wrap it up. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. I know you did another one of these last night, so I appreciate you helping. Were you doing one for the?
We're doing one later for
Oregon. Another one for Oregon. Yeah. So appreciate your time. Everybody's giving you all the.
One more final thought. Yes, tell your friends about, if they have questions about tires, some of the resources we share. Again, we're obviously biased towards Michelin, but education or knowing is, sharing is caring. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. If I don't speak to you again, have a wonderful
Thanks
Christmas.
for
Watch out for
talking.
more emails from me. And if not, we'll see you again on the
Awesome.
online chat. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Carl. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.